CBS News has learned serious doubts were raised years ago about the credibility of an ex-FBI informant who's accused of lying about the Bidens. Justice Department charged Alexander Smirnov with falsely accusing President Biden and his son Hunter of taking bribes. He has pleaded not guilty. Scott McFarland spoke with criminal defense attorney Joseph Benincasa. He says he warned the FBI 8 years ago that Smirnov was a fraud when he was a key witness in a case against his clients.
You're right. The confidential human source was known to the United States as a liar and a fraudster. You think it was known?
Without a doubt.
What happened when you warned the government about it?
At first, they didn't believe it.
Fascinating conversation. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott McFarland has more on all of this from Washington. So, Scott, what impact is Smirnov having on the congressional impeachment inquiry?
He's already had a destabilizing impact on this inquiry because so much of the justification of this probe into President Biden by Congress was based on what they say Alexander Smirnov told the FBI in one of those so-called 1023 forms, the forms the FBI takes when somebody gives testimony or gives an interview. Alexander Smirnov has been questioned and to a degree discredited by the Justice Department itself, the same federal agency for which he served as an informant. They've charged him with making up, concocting a story about President Biden, making up allegations that President Biden accepted a bribe. He's facing federal criminal charges for doing so. But what CBS News learned through its investigation is that there were red flags 8 years earlier about Alexander Smirnov allegedly lying in a different federal criminal prosecution. Republicans have been muted in their statements about this so-called informant, or they call him a whistleblower, in the Biden case. But they're still trying to proceed with this impeachment inquiry. But months into it, they've yet to reveal any evidence of criminal conduct.
All right, well, Scott, let's talk about what's happening or not happening on Capitol Hill. We are 1 week away from another possible government shutdown. Where do lawmakers stand on passing a funding measure?
This one's trickier. It's going to be trickier than the past few because it has all the thorniest issues in it. The one they passed to keep the government from partly shutting down last week was the easy stuff. It was things in which there's, generally speaking, universal agreement. Now they're dealing with the Pentagon. Now they're dealing with Homeland Security, which means the border, and Health and Human Services, which may not sound controversial, but when you start peeling away the layers of the onion, you realize there's an awful lot here about health care and about abortion services. They have some rather large wrinkles to iron out between now and next Friday night, and they have obviously a finite amount of time to do so. It seems clear, based on what CBS News is hearing from its sources and what the public officials are saying publicly, that there's going to have to be, again, a coalition of Republicans and Democrats coming together to pass this thing, potentially without the support of some of the key Republican leaders in the U.S. House.
Finally, Scott, where do things stand on a foreign aid package?
That's an even trickier thing for Congress to extract itself. There's several efforts underway to try to force a vote on the floor, even without the leadership's blessing, to fund Ukraine, fund Israel, fund Taiwan. So far, those efforts have moved sluggishly. One of the new efforts by a bipartisan coalition to try to get 218 signatures on a petition to force a vote for Ukraine, so far doesn't have 218. It has 14. This is going to be a process that eats up days and weeks, if not months.
Sounds like a process indeed. All right, Scott McFarland for us. Scott, thank you.